So what are some of the key differences between beach and reef breaks? But more importantly, which one will help you progress faster? And I want to go over kind of 3 key differences between beach and reef breaks. And then I want to talk about why I think one is better for progression rather than the other one. So let's get straight into it. Number 1, I believe that reef breaks are far more predictable waves than beach breaks. In a typical reef break, there's usually 1, maybe 2 takeoff spots, and the wave will pretty much always break in the same spot, and the wave will be very similar every time. You know, there's gonna be certain sections that always come up depending on how shallow or how deep the reef is in that certain section of the wave. And beach breaks are a lot more unpredictable. It's always gonna break on a different spot. It's not gonna have similar sections. For instance, you can get a wave, it's gonna be pretty slow. You could probably do a couple turns on it, finish it off, and then you paddle out, and then your next wave is just a big barreling closeout. And not to mention, you usually have a much wider field of play when you're surfing a beach break. So straight into number 2, I think that reef breaks for an intermediate surfer are actually more user-friendly than beach breaks. For intermediate surfers, for people who want to work on pumping down the line, they want to work on flow, they want to work on different types of turns and maneuvers, a reef break is going to be very valuable for that because of its predictability. So for the average surfer, reef breaks are much more user-friendly than beach breaks. And this leads us into number 3, which is that reef breaks are also much more crowded than beach breaks. And obviously that's due to its user friendliness and ease of ride. It also has to do with the setup of reef breaks, where there's only 1 takeoff spot to a reef break. And then on the contrary, on beach breaks, it's kind of easier to find your own little peak or your own little corner to sit on. You can roam the lineup a lot more, get a lot more waves. So finally, which type of wave do I feel like is better for progressing? Which will allow for faster progression? And this might be a little controversial, but I actually believe that beach breaks will allow for faster progression than reef breaks. And this is because of a few things. 1, I think the unpredictability of surfing a beach break actually makes you a more reactive and a quicker surfer overall. And that unpredictability also allows you to surf a lot of different types of waves in one session. You might get barreled on one and the next one you're doing turns. But it also helps you read waves a lot better because it's not always gonna be the same, so you're gonna have to adapt as you're riding the wave. And maybe the most important about beach breaks and why I think they can be so much better for progression is the amount of waves you're catching. And on beach breaks, you're typically catching way more waves per session compared to reef breaks because of how spread out the playing field is and how you can usually sit on your own little corner and get as many waves as you want. So I would recommend, if you live in an area with both reef and beach break, obviously there's a balance in everything, but I would err on the side of surfing beach break a little more often than I surf the reef break. But whether you choose to surf beach or reef break, you're always gonna wanna have sunscreen on. So I actually partnered up with this company. They're called Albedo. It's very natural ingredients, but it also works really well. I've been using it for a couple weeks and I haven't gotten burned at all. And what's nice about this one is it's actually a combo tube, and it comes with this oil, which makes it really easy to get the sunscreen off after you use it. But part of the partnership is if you use my link in the description, you actually get 20% off of this combo tube. So it's a really good deal. But if you also put in the notes that I sent you, they're gonna throw in a couple free goodies for you guys. So it supports this channel and helps me keep making videos. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll be back in Hawaii soon. Let's go.